A little over 10 years ago, 10-year-old me created this YouTube channel so that I could subscribe to all of my favourite creators on the platform. 3 years later, in 2015, I would start uploading my first videos to the channel, mostly just silly Rockstar editor videos and roughly edited clips from games my friends and I were playing at the time. 3 more years after that, on the 24th of December 2018, I uploaded a video named Dysfunctional Moments Part 12. That would begin a streak of consistent weekly Monday uploads that still continues to this day. Almost 4 years later, in June of 2022, I posted a 100 subscriber special video to mark the achievement of reaching that juicy 3-digit milestone that had always seemed like such a distant goal until it finally happened. A little over a week ago, I posted the Valorant bot roleplay video that brought most of you to this channel, the success of which left me in absolute disbelief. Just a couple of days ago, I posted a Rust video with a thank you message at the start, acknowledging the crazy response to my Valorant video. In that message, I used a clip that showed the view count of that video and the subscriber count of my channel to emphasize how happy I was that so many people seemed to enjoy the video and even subscribe to my channel. Here I am, 72 hours, 45,000 views, and 1,700 subscribers later, scrambling to put together a 1,000 subscriber special video which is technically already overdue. Before we continue, let it be known that I cannot find the words for how grateful and awestruck I am by this horde of attention and appreciation you all have brought to my channel over the last 10 days. And of course, to the 100 people who were here before all this started happening, thank you for your long-lasting support to the channel from the moment you decided to hit that subscribe button. I'm not gonna lie, it was quite a scary shock to my system when I really put into perspective what these numbers truly represented. I cannot fathom what presenting a speech to 1,000 people would feel like. I mean, I could barely get through an oral presentation to a class of 20 kids in high school. Nevertheless, here we are. By the time I realized the 1,000 subscriber milestone was just around the corner, it was already too late to plan a big special video for it, so here's what I've come up with instead. I've decided what better way to celebrate this milestone than to answer all the most common questions I've been seeing coming up in the comment section of both TikTok and YouTube relating to the video that brought most of you here today. So without further delay, let's see what you guys want to know. Do I use a controller? This has probably got to be the single most asked question I've seen, both in the comments and even in Valorant. And as you can see from the handcam footage in the background here, the answer is no. I don't use a controller in Valorant, and honestly, I don't even know how to, because as far as I'm aware, Valorant has no native built-in controller support anyway. If you wanted to use a controller, I'd imagine you would have to jump through lots of hoops to make it happen. I use mouse and keyboard just like everyone else. If you're curious as to specifically which mouse and keyboard I use, the mouse is the Razer Naga Pro Wireless and the keyboard is the Razer Black Widow Chroma V1. How do I move the way I do, and do I only press the W key? Well, let's start by saying no, I don't only use the W key. There are times when it makes sense for an AI bot to use A, S, or D as well, admittedly not as much as the W key, but nonetheless I do use them. And when it comes to how I move the way I do, I guess there's no better explanation than to say that I'm heavily inspired by bots from games like Call of Duty and CSGO. I used to play Black Ops 1 against bots when I was 9 years old because I was way too bad to play against players, so I've seen lots of bot kill cams in my day. I've also spectated plenty of CS bots from when players who were disconnected used to be replaced by bots. I would always be intrigued to see if they could actually get a kill or not. What is my sensitivity? This was a very common question that I saw pop up in the comment section, and thankfully it's very easy to answer. In Valorant, I play with a sensitivity of 0.5 both when I'm playing seriously and also when I'm pretending to be a bot. In terms of the DPI of my mouse, which for those of you who don't know is another factor which affects how sensitive your mouse is, I use 1000 DPI on my mouse. I've also seen people say I must be playing with mouse acceleration on or VSync in Valorant, but that is also not the case. How do I get the different kill counter icon on my screen, and why don't I see the agent bodies on the floor? These things are different in my game because I live in Australia, and in our version of Valorant, we can't actually choose to have the mature content mode enabled. In fact, we don't even have access to that setting. This is why I don't get the skull icon. I don't see agent bodies on the floor, and I don't see blood splatters when shooting at other players. What are my graphics and color settings? Well, let's get the simple answer out of the way. Here are all of my graphic settings in Valorant. I'll show them in the background footage for you. There you go, have a good look at that, pause it if you need to. When it comes to the color settings part of the question, I assume this has been coming up because my gameplay looks much more vibrant and colorful than lots of other videos you might have seen. And by the way, as of right now, this is only the case on TikTok, not on YouTube, so if you're confused by this comment, don't worry about it, it's probably because you're not watching on TikTok. This has nothing to do with my game settings. It looks like that because when I put my footage into Sony Vegas to prepare it for TikTok, I manually boost the saturation of the video because Valorant has a lot of colors in it, but the normal game is quite washed out and grey, so I decided to make it a bit more vibrant. If you really wanted your actual game to look like that, I'm sure you could find a way, whether it be through the settings on your monitor or through a program with built-in filters like NVIDIA Shadowplay. What are my PC specs? Another easy question, and I'll try to make it quick. I'm running a AMD Ryzen 5 5600X processor with a NVIDIA RTX 3070 graphics card and 32GB of DDR4 RAM. All this is powered by a 650 watt Thermaltake power supply. Also, I noticed lots of people were referencing the refresh rate of my monitor in the comments, so I guess I'll include that here too. I use the AOC C27G2, which runs at a refresh rate of 165Hz. However, in Valorant I play with an uncapped frame rate and I'm typically sitting around 300 FPS. What do I use to edit and record my videos? Well, when it comes to recording, I use NVIDIA Shadowplay to capture all of my footage at a bitrate of 50 Mbps and a frame rate of 60. It's what works best for me in the spontaneous nature of my clips, because it's always recording in the background, and whenever something interesting happens, I can just hit one button to save the last 5 minutes. To edit all of my content, I use Sony Vegas Pro 15, outdated I know, but it gets the job done and I've become very familiar with it over the years. I noticed that a decent amount of people were interested in my render settings, so I'll quickly run through the most important bits now. I use a frame size of 1920 by 1080, obviously, a frame rate of 59.94, and I render with a variable bitrate. The average bitrate is set to 20 million bps, but the maximum is set to 40 million bps. And lastly, I use the NVENC encoder setting to render the videos. I think that's about it. We've made it through all the most common questions you guys have been asking me over the past week or so, but before I let you go, there is one thing I want to reiterate that I briefly mentioned at the beginning of this week's Rust video. My vision for the future of the channel is and always has been one of variety content and a genuine connection with my audience. The idea that I can make pretty much anything that I enjoy making and that people will be willing to watch it because they trust in my content is the foundation of this channel. However, I am also very cautious of falling into the trap of relying on a specific game or idea to keep people interested in the channel. Obviously, trends come and go, nowadays quicker than ever before. The same is true for channels that latch onto them and end up depending on them to stay relevant. Of course, this doesn't mean I don't want to acknowledge the interests of the audience. After all, the audience are what breathe life into any channel. I'm very excited to produce the content that people are asking for and that I enjoy making, so I think most of you would be quite happy to hear that I'm already working on the second part of Valorant Bot Roleplay, and I'm planning to release it as Monday's video. Let me thank you all once again for the outrageous amount of support you've shown. You don't understand how much it motivates me to see how many people are happy to watch my videos. I really do genuinely appreciate it. It's opened my eyes and allowed me to see potential that I could never before imagine was within the realm of possibility for this channel. And with that, we've made it to the end of the video. Here's to 1,000 subscribers, better late than never. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye, for now.